Hi, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon day session of the educational seminars. We had three great presentations yesterday, and we have three really good ones, great ones lined up for today. Our first is going to be with Bill Eckberg. Bill is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. He graduated from the University of Michigan at MSU and spent his career as a biology professor, department chairman, and dean at Howard University, retiring in 2009. He then worked for the National Science Foundation at Woods Hole, Massachusetts, doing research in marine biology. As you know, Bill is former president of EAC, and he has had and has significant collections of half cents and other copper coins. Bill is known as an authority on half cents. He co-authored our EAC grading guide and has written numerous articles in Pennywise, The Numismatist, and Coin World, including receiving awards and accolades for the quality of his research and his articles. It's my pleasure to introduce for our first speaker this afternoon, Bill Eckberg.
If I may, I suggest that those of you that are not too far in the back, but a little in the back, could move forward. You will see things better. What I'm going to do today is give away free some proprietary information on how to do the overlays that I have used to demonstrate whether something was done from the same design or not. And so we're going to be talking about how to compare coinage dies, and we'll be talking first about the history of it, and then I'm going to give a live demonstration of how to do it. So, coin photography dates to 1869. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this plate. This is the Levick plate from 1869, all of the then known 1793 large cent varieties. And they were photographed, they were photographed with a glass plate negative large format camera, and then the negative, after it was developed and fixed, was laid down on a sheet of paper. The tan paper that you see there is a sheet of photographic paper, and then contact printed. So every one of the plates that exist of this were contact printed directly from the original negative. It's a time-consuming, it's a very, very slow process. It's a lot of manual work as well. But the quality of the photographs is really very good. I scanned this plate at 2400 pixels per inch, which is more than most scanners can do. And, whoops, have to hit that one. Zoomed in on the S1. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Still very sharp. If you're close enough, you can actually see the texture in the paper. You can see the texture in the photographic paper. So this is very, very, very good quality photography. It's state of the art in 1869. Zooming in more, you see that the picture is made up of a bunch of little dots. And what those dots are is individual silver grains from the photograph. You see they're randomly distributed, and where there are more of them close together, it's darker. Whether there are few of them and they're farther apart, it's lighter. So that's how the tonality is made. If you go out far enough like that, you start to lose definition because you're just enlarging grain. And that's important. We'll talk about that as we go along. Here's another great early image. This is a heliotype. Thank you to Harry Salyards who sent me the catalog that this came out of. It's from the Frossard collection by Bangs, and in October of 1884. It's a very, very sharp picture. This is printed by what is called heliotypy. You start with a glass plate negative, just like I showed before, and you contact print it but not onto paper. You contact print it onto a metal plate or a stone, which is then processed, and then you roll ink on it. And so what you're looking at here are individual ink dots, okay? Individual ink dots. That's a lot faster and less labor intensive than individual contact printing of every image. We'll come back to this image in a little bit. Late 20th century, this is the print quality you got. A lot worse, right? And I'm not picking on Bowers and Morena. This is true of all of the companies. They went to mechanical halftoning, and you can see that that image is made up of mechanical dot pattern, just like in a newspaper or a magazine. You can't do much with that. You could probably plate match it if you had a coin that plate matched it, but that's the extent of it. You can't do much analysis. They, however, had some large full-page images. That's an image of the same coin from the same catalog, but it's a full-page image. And so you can't see the dot pattern there. You'd have to enlarge it a lot to see that halftone pattern. Again, it's black and white. We're used to a lot better than that now. And they started doing color prints of coins about the time. They would have them in a plate or two at the front of the catalog or the end of the catalog. It looks like crap. And the reason it looks like crap is because there are 4 halftone screens that are printed over each other, and it just makes the whole thing look muddy. I mean, you do see the color, I guess, but if you try to look at that through a magnifying glass and enlarge it, it looks like crap, okay? Again, that was the state of the art. In my opinion, a color halftone screen looks even worse than a black and white halftone screen. Well, okay. You can get that Frossered catalog on the Newman Numismatic Portal. This is the Newman Numismatic Portal image of the same coin. Does it look like what I showed you? Let's get it back. That's the heliotype. Whoops. And that's what it looks like on the Newman Numismatic Portal. Why do they look different? Well, the reason that they look different is that the Newman Numismatic Portal cannot have all of its images at 2400 pixels per inch. They would run out of bandwidth, they would run out of computer space, they have to downsample everything. If you were trying to download the page from the Newman Portal, it would take forever, even on a fast connection. So they have to downsample, make things not as sharp. So if you're doing research on the Newman Numismatic Portal, keep in mind that the old catalogs that they have, the images are degraded, okay? And they had to be. Again, that's what it looked like. I thought I took this one out. I had a 4 megapixel camera with a macro lens back in 1980. 4 megapixels is, nothing today. My iPhone is 14 megapixels. But I took this picture of a quarter in around 1980 with a macro lens. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty good on the screen. If you blow it up, you can see it's not really in focus. Okay, it was the best I could do at the time. Okay, but the picture was good. Now we get to 2009. This is from the Dan Holmes collection, and this is the internet image, the large internet image from the Dan Holmes collection. We thought at the time that this was the be-all and end-all of coin photography. Everything was magnificent, everything was perfect. This is 1,050 pixels wide for the whole coin, and it looks pretty darn good, I think. If you enlarge it, and those of you close can probably see pretty well that the hair is all jaggy, okay? It's all pixelated. Even the letters, particularly the top of the B and E, look jaggy because you're beyond the resolution of the photographs. Okay, this was the state of the art. The Goldberg's Dan Holmes catalog of 2009. Again, not really good enough to do the kinds of things that I do. 4 years later, Missouri cabinet. This is the 1793 C1. This image is 1,500 pixels wide. It's 50% wider and therefore several times larger. If we, let's go back to this. This was the image that you got online. If you got the deluxe catalog, they had full-size prints of every coin, obverse and reverse. They were photographic prints. And this is the photographic print of that coin, again enlarged to the same size. It doesn't look quite as good, but it looks pretty good. You know, you could look at that with a glass and see what the coin really looked like. Though the internet image is better. And this is scanned at the same resolution that the other was. If you blow up the internet image, you don't see any jaggies, okay? This is really, really sharp. If you're close enough, and maybe if you're not close enough, you can see the field is rough here. Can you see that? This is spalling or damage to the die that causes this. This is the first variety of half cent that was struck. They were all struck in one day, so this is probably a fairly late striking on that first day of making half cents. And you can see some down here. You can see around the eye. They're spalling everywhere. You can see all of the detail in this coin. You can see all of the detail in this coin. And it's this kind of image that you need to do the kind of work that I'm going to show. Here are modern digital coin images. This is the same coin, pretty obvious. Here's 1,500 pixels wide, and this is from the Tet sale. And this is 2,410 pixels wide, and this is from the Pogue sale. Pogue bought it in the Tet sale and then sold it later. They don't look exactly the same, do they? I mean, it's pretty clear it's the same coin because you've got the same pattern of lighter color, but the coins don't look exactly the same, and the reason is they were photographed in different light. It's all about the light when you take a photograph. Let's zoom in on the hair by the ear in both of these. This is the Tet Goldberg image. You can see a whole bunch of striations from the die down here in the throat, here in front of the ear. Look at this one. You can't really see those striations very well, even though the resolution is greater in this image than it is in this image. And it's because of the quality of the photograph. These were photographed by different people. This one was photographed by the guy that photographs the EAC sale. Okay? This was photographed by PCGS. Okay? Who do you want to photograph your coins? All right? I mean, you can see their striations are there. You know, you can see them, but they're not nearly as clear. Not nearly as clear. Everybody agree with me? Okay. So the purpose of this talk and the rest of it is going to be to reveal the methods that I have used to compare coinage dies. And you've seen several articles in Pennywise. There have been a couple in The Numismatist that show the results of this. But I'm going to show you how I do it. And most people, when they do overlays to compare images, I'm looking at you, Chuck, and everybody else too, not just you, they will take two pictures in the natural color of the coin, and they will lay one on top of the other, and then they will adjust the transparency on the top one until it lines up. In my opinion, when you do that, you get mud. Okay? I don't do it that way. And what I do is completely different. And the reason that I do it that way is because of my career as a scientist. I was a cell biologist, and we use lots of images in color, and they're done in false color. We don't really care what color the picture looks like. We care that it shows something interesting. And I think, okay, well, I'm going to tell you how I do it, and then I'm going to show you why. You want to start with the best possible image. You want to start with an image that's at least 15 megapixels, or 100, whatever it is, the size of those two. Start with the best possible image. Detail is much more important than color. You do not care what the color of the coin is when you do this, okay? Because you're going to get rid of the color of the coin. Copy it into Photoshop. There may be other programs that allow this to be done. Photoshop is the one that I use. You need to be able to work in both red, green, and blue, or RGB color space, and CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, which is black. To do that, I originally was going to do this talk from my iPad, but Photoshop for the iPad doesn't let you work in CMYK color space, so I had to buy a computer to do this. It's a nice computer. So you select and copy the color layer that has the optimal contrast. I'll show you how to do that. Create a new blank image in CMYK space. Paste the image into the C and Y channels, cyan and yellow, and you'll end up with a green picture, okay? Cyan plus yellow gives you green. Copy the next image, like you did before, the coin you want to compare, and paste it into the magenta and key, or black channels, and I'll show you what that looks like. Adjust the positions, sizes, and rotations to get the best fit, because the pictures may not have come from the same place. They may have been photographed at different times. You may have to do some adjustment, excuse me, to make it work right. Excuse me. And then you simply adjust the pixel. Whoa, let's not go back, do that yet. Oh well. Then you just adjust the pixel spaces. I'm sorry, it's just going to go into that next picture. Adjust the positions, adjust the pixel spaces to get the best image. This is the kind of image that I started with. This is a group of cells that are stained with 3 different molecules that are fluorescent, and they fluoresce at different wavelengths, and so they're shot at different wavelengths. And you got 3 different images. You got a blue one, a green one, and a red one in this case. And each of them is shot as an image, and then they are overlaid in different color channels to give you the colors. So you're looking at, in blue, you're looking at the cell nucleus. In green, you're looking at little filaments in the cell. And I think the red is probably the endoplasmic reticulum. It doesn't matter what it is. Just the point is that you have to overlay these things because you've only taken one color at a time. You've only shot one color at a time. It's fun. So let's try this. Let's see if I can make it work. Okay. Let's see. Get out of this. Get out of that. Get out of that. Whoops. All right. I'm going to open. I need my glasses. And let's see. Okay, let's start with this. This is 1792 dime or disme, or deem, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I think they probably pronounced it dime back then, but I don't know. This had been reported for well over 100 years as looking a lot like the 1793 half cent. But it never occurred to anybody that it was the 1793 half cent. The head is the same. So I'm going to take this image, and I am going to try to find channels. Sorry about that. All right, I'm going to just look at one channel at a time. This is what it looks like in the red channel. It's a grayscale image. This is what it looks like in the green channel. It's a little darker, okay? And this is what it looks like in blue. It's a lot darker. And the reason is that these coins are light brown in color, so you're going to get the best contrast in the red channel, okay? So now what I'm going to do is copy this. Just select all, copy, and then make a new image, create it, and paste. Whoops, that's not what I want to do, zap. I want to make this image in, come on, CMYK color, and I'm going to print this image into the cyan channel and the yellow channel. And when I do that, I get this very unattractive green image. Okay? Now I go back to what I want here. And this is the one. Okay, we're going to use this half cent. No particular reason for this one, just it was a fairly high-grade half cent that I found on the web. And I'm going to once again show you the red channel, you know, has nice contrast to it. The green channel has less. The blue is just dark. Okay? So you have the best image in the red channel. Whoops. Okay. So I'm going to select all, copy, and I'm going to go to my new file. And I'm going to paste this into the magenta and into the black. Now that looks really wonderful, doesn't it? It looks really terrific, I think. It's first of all, it's way too black. So what I need to do is reduce the black. I need my glasses to do this. Adjust the levels of black, and I'm going to just cut it way, way, way down. And now you're seeing a lot of magenta and green. I'm going to reduce the cyan. I'm going to brighten that up. And now it looks magenta. So now I will brighten up the magenta. And I could adjust the contrast, and you know, I could do all kinds of things with it. But this is enough for the demonstration. Now you can see that these are pretty close, but they're not aligned right. I need to make the image larger, so I'll make it, these are 1200 pixels, so I'll make it 1500 by 1500. We'll have some white space around it. And then just for giggles, we will select the cyan and yellow channels, and we will simply move them.
Bill,
Yeah?
you already had done a magnification adjustment.
Yes.
So what was the criteria used for doing that?
And for this demonstration, I actually didn't use the biggest possible images because it would take longer to load. I just sort of do it intuitively, but I make sure that the images are the same size.
Based on the outer extent of them, or because I remember some of your articles, you seem to match them up to make the face the same size.
Yes. Okay, that's a good point. Sometimes you're comparing coins that are not the same size. I was able to show, for example, that the 1794 half dime was made from the same drawing as the 1794 dollar. Now the half dime is like that, the dollar is like that, so obviously they're scaled differently. But if you enlarge the half dime, it's obviously from the same design as the dollar.
But in this case,
They're about the same size.
we're comparing the half cent
to a 1792 dime.
Dime.
Pattern.
I always thought the dime would have been much smaller than the half cent. Not true.
No, the
They're about the same.
copper dime of 1792 was just like a millimeter smaller than the half cent. I'm sorry, a millimeter larger than the half cent. So they're just about exactly the same size. Anyway, by just dragging a little bit, you can see that the faces and the busts match perfectly, right? The eyes in the same place, the nose, the mouth, the chin, the bust, the ear is even the same. The hair is completely different. You can see green hair and magenta hair. The cap is obviously not present in the dime, nor is the pole. But you can see you can see the lettering in both. And this was kind of the first thing that I did with this, and that was published in the Numismatist, and it got a lot of attention from a lot of people. Everybody understand what I did there? Okay. All right.
Quiz, is there?
There'll be a written quiz at the end, yes. All right, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of all of this. Oops, I don't want to save it. Never mind. Don't
Bill,
save.
When you put those images together, can you, once they're together, can you move them apart? So we can
Sure.
See
Oh, sure.
what if you now completely moved them
I'll
apart?
show you that this time, okay? I'm going to open two more and do a different demonstration, and I'll show you that you can do that. Okay, here we go. This is a fun one. This is a wreath scent, very high-grade wreath scent, and once again, I'm going to compare it to another wreath scent in a minute. So that's the red. The blue, the green is darker, the blue is still darker. This is actually a fairly dark coin. So what I'm going to do is select it and copy it and then create a new image, return, and this time I will remember to make it CMYK. Okay. Paste it in cyan, paste it in yellow, and now we have a green image, okay? I'm going to take another wreath scent. The wreath scents were always believed to have been individually hand engraved. If you look at Sheldon's book or anybody else's book, all the wreath scents were individually hand engraved. Ha! I will prove to you that they were not. And there was also a lot of people that believed that this one was a fake. This one was not a mint product. Again, ha! It's made from the same hub as the other strawberry, as all the rest of the strawberry leaves. So again, I'll take
You mean the rest of the 93?
the rest of the wreath scents. Okay. So here's the red channel. I don't need to show you every channel. I'm just going to show you this one. And I'm going to select copy, and then I'm going to go back to this one, and I'm going to paste this into these two channels. Like I did before, I'm going to reduce the black a lot. And it still looks kind of weird. There's a lot of green, so I'm going to reduce the green, make it brighter. And then I'll reduce the magenta, make it brighter. No, that's not the one I want. So, I'm not used to working with a trackpad. I'm used to working with a mouse at home. All right. These two are overlaid on one another. If you look down at the point of the bust, you can see they're not matched right. You can see the strawberry leaves, you can see the other leaves there. The hair is green because only one of the two coins has hair visible, okay? The strawberry leaf is pretty flat there. So what I can do, if you look at the chins don't match, the noses don't match, the hairlines don't match. You can see that these are not exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is select two, the cyan and I mean the magenta and black, and I'm going to, again, I have to have my glasses. I'm going to transform rotate because they're in different rotations. So I can rotate the image. Okay. The noses match, the eyes match, the mouths match, the chins match, the busts match, the hair all matches. These were done from the same hub. So if there's anybody that believes that the wreath scents anymore were individually engraved, don't believe that anymore, okay? They weren't. And the strawberry leaf is a legit product because it's made from the same hub. And it has the same edge design too. Line and bars. Any questions yet? Yeah, Chuck.
Question. When you say they all match up, maybe it's the distance away that matters. Okay.
The reason you're seeing green in the hair is because the hair on the strawberry leaf is flat. Here,
The
let me,
reason why I'm seeing green
in the hair,
is
Poor
because
definition.
there's no hair definition in the strawberry leaf,
there you go. Okay.
okay? You can't see individual hair strands in that except where they come out behind the head.
Now, walk it up there, see if you match. See if-
Yeah.
In profile.
The other thing that
Now the blue.
The other thing that I like to do is, I've just got the cyan and the magenta, and what I like to do, first of all, when I do this, I'm doing it on a much bigger monitor, much bigger screen, so I'm seeing this much larger than what you're seeing here. And what I like to do is switch back and forth. So here we're looking at the real one, here we're looking at the and I can go back and forth, and I can more easily see what differences there are, if any. Okay? In the last Pennywise, I had shown, and I didn't bring those images with me, that the 1794 dollar was made from the same drawing as the 1793 Liberty Cap cent. Nobody ever would have thought. I didn't think that. The reason that I thought that, the reason that I looked at it, was because I got an email from a guy that wasn't at that time a member of EAC, now he is, who said, he sent me an overlay with, you know, the way Chuck does it, of a $50 and a 1794 cent, and you know, he thought they were from the same hub. And I said, well, they can't be from the same hub because the cent hub had the Liberty Cap in it, and there's no Liberty Cap in the $50. But it was similar enough that I decided to do this test, and it turns out the $50 was from the same design, from the same original drawing. So Robert Scott has been given credit for the design of the 1794 silver coins. He actually just copied Henry Voigt's 1793 design. He may have used Henry Voigt's drawing. Scott was really, really, really good at copying things. He made gorgeous, beautiful maps. He was extremely skilled at that kind of work. And even though he is technically the engraver of the 1794 dollar and dime and $50, the design was Henry Voigt's from 1793.
Bill?
Yeah.
Do we know that Henry Voigt actually designed it and just wasn't the engraver from some other
Well, there's
unknown person's?
Yeah, there's no evidence that anybody else did any of that work. The only evidence that we can go from is Elias Boudinot, when he was in Congress, before he was director of the Mint, was trying to get rid of the Mint in 1794 and 5. And so he got himself appointed to a committee to go and find out what those people over there were doing and why aren't we getting more money made and why are we losing so much money on the mint and all this kind of stuff. And he actually looked into it and discovered that the reason that the mint was not being more productive than it was because Congress wasn't giving them enough money to do the work they needed to do. And he reported back to Congress, that the mint was wonderful and that Congress needed to step up and give them what they needed. But Boudinot went into the thing intending to abolish the mint with his report, but he ended up the exact opposite. And he said that it was some time before an engraver could be hired, and so the chief coiner was obliged to make the dies for himself. So the chief coiner did make the dies. We know that because of congressional testimony.
But do we know he made
The original
design?
drawing, no, we don't know that,
No.
but we don't know who
Yeah,
else might have, yeah. We don't know who else might have. I mean, it's conceivable, perhaps that Rittenhouse did it. It's conceivable that some other artist in Philadelphia did it, but if they did, there's no record of it. So we have to go with the evidence we have.
So did you ever do any overlays with French coins to see if there might have been a connection there?
I haven't done overlays with French coins, no. No. Send me an email. Okay. Any other questions? I could go through one more of these, but I think you get the message. This is something that anybody can do that has a decent computer and a copy of Photoshop or a similar program.
Bill, can I ask a question on coloring?
Sure.
I found it interesting that you showed us how different lighting can affect what we're looking at
Mhm.
on the catalogs or online. I've gotten a couple of times that when I was high bidder, the coins didn't quite look like what they looked like in the catalog. And folks who are running images purposely change the color a little bit to induce us to bid, and then we're a little bit disappointed when it comes, or...
All those rainbow-toned Morgan dollars that when you get the coin is sort of pastel, right? Yeah, you can intensify the color, you can tone down the color, you can, it's easy to lie with Photoshop, okay? They say the camera doesn't lie, but the photographer often does. Yeah,
Take a porous coin and make it smooth.
yeah.
How many extant images are there, going back to your very first slide, of the Levick print? How many paper?
I do not know. I have one. I bought it a couple of years ago, I think, at an EAC convention, and it's pretty cool. It's just the one plate from an article.
And that's why you were able to get that great image that you were, because you did it for your own.
Yeah, I had my own copy of that, and the heliotype is from a catalog that Harry had, and he was very kind and sent it to me and let me copy it. Yeah, Chuck.
What's your scanner that can do 20 PPI?
I was a scientist, and
Why not?
my laboratory purchased a very high-end Epson scanner that's capable of
There's an Epson.
native scanning of 9,600 pixels per inch.
Wow.
Yeah, I can make pictures of a half dime that's too big, but in this case, I tried to be reasonable. If I had scanned it at a higher resolution, we'd see the same thing, because we see at 2,400 pixels per inch, we see all the detail that exists. Okay. Once you see all the detail that exists, enlarging more does you nothing. Gets you nowhere. Yeah.
So you've made strawberry leaves real. Have you done Jefferson heads yet?
I'm sorry?
You've made the strawberry leaf since real. Have
Yep.
you done the Jefferson heads?
Jefferson head, I'm quite sure is not a mint product. I haven't done a Jefferson head, but they're so different that they wouldn't look minty. Okay. On the other hand, who would have thought that a $17.94 and a $17.93 were the same? Who would have thought that? Not me. I would not have thought that. Anybody else? This is fun, yeah.
What was the inspiration when you, I think the first one you described was when you, the half dollar, the half cent and the dime.
And the dime, yeah.
What made you want to check that out?
I was retired and and I was playing around with my computer looking at the Tettenhorst coins, and I was looking at the two obverses of 1793 and thinking, God, these look an awful lot alike for something that were hand engraved. And so I actually did an overlay of those two and showed, oh, wait a minute, those are from the same hub. That meant there must have been a hub used in 1793. And then I thought, well, that dime looks a lot like this too. So I tried that overlay, and boom. So the hub was from 1792. Hubbing was not a brand new thing in coinage at that time. I believe there were some colonials that were hubbed. I know there were some colonials that were hubbed. In fact, there were a fair number of colonials that were hubbed, actually. Yeah, and so, you know, it wasn't much of a stretch to believe that the mint was hubbing. The reason the mint went to hubbing was because of the chain cent. The chain cent was struck for 2 weeks, okay? Everybody thinks the chain cents were struck for a long time. They were only made for 2 weeks. And each obverse die took a week to make. The reverses didn't take so long, they were pretty simple. But each obverse die took a week to make. And there were 4 obverse dies made, okay? If it takes you twice as long to make the dies as you spend striking the coins, you can't keep that up, okay? The mint is designed to turn out coins. It's not meant to give artists a chance to play around, okay? So they knew from that time that they had to hub coins. And so it's completely logical that they hubbed the coins that were made later in 1793, the wreath cents, and then the half cents, and then the Liberty Cap cents. Everything was hubbed after that. If you read Sheldon, he says all the 1794s were individually hand engraved. Nope, they weren't. Yeah.
I came in late, but you said that the cent and the half dollar were the same design,
Yes.
but back in the 1790s, how did they get from this size to that size?
Very good question. Excellent question. It's actually something that artists have done at least since the ancient Greeks. What they do is they do a drawing. They call it a cartoon, and it has the entire design, okay? And then they make a grid, and then they, on the die, they make a smaller grid or a larger grid, depending on what it's going to be, and then they trace out the design through that. The other thing they did, and they had these since at least the 15 or 1600s, is use a pantograph. If you remember Etch-a-Sketch, you turn a little thing and something moves. A pantograph is the same kind of thing. You draw, and it draws in a different size. It'll draw the same thing in a different size. So either of those methods could have been used. We have no idea which one was used, and it doesn't matter because the same result. To use the grid, you had to be really good at precise drawing, and we know that that Robert Scott was very good at precise drawing. Other people were at the time as well, because that was something that was very importantly taught in school. Education was completely different back then, and we talk about people being a Renaissance man who knows a lot about different fields. Rittenhouse is certainly a Renaissance man, but they were very common back then. People were educated in many different fields, and art was one of them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, probably not, maybe from your articles, Would it be fair to say that most, an engraver like Boyd, that he would have, to make a hub, would have started by making a die from which then the hubs were made, but nobody made hubs as an original, or at least it was infrequently, it was a lot harder to do?
You could do it either
Make a
way.
die?
If you're trying to engrave a hub as the original, that's like engraving a cameo.
Yeah,
You've seen cameos, you know, that would be a hub, okay? Because the hub is punched into the die and it gives you an incus die. The hub is raised. You could do that way. We know that in some cases it was done. I had a picture of a hub of a coin for Louis XIV that I published in one of my articles. I know Robert Scott says he didn't do it that way. He said he started out, as you say, by doing an incus die. They called it an original die. We would now call it a master die. And then you could raise a hub from that, and then you could punch the hub into other working dies.
if the skill you had was as an engraver,
Mm-hmm.
typically, if you were making a guess, would you choose to start with a master hub or a master die? Which way would you go, or it wouldn't have made any difference?
Well, I'm not a I'm not a skilled engraver, but
You're a student of it.
if I were, as far as the process of coinage is concerned, it wouldn't matter. You could start with either one. Scott claimed that he started with a master die, but you can. It's a way of reproducing dies. You know, you want to make as many dies that are the same as you can, and so you make a hub from that. You can make another hub from that. You can use those hubs to make working dies. You can even use those hubs to make a new master die. It's all just back and forth, below the surface and above the surface. And it's still done that way. The Mint still does it that way. Yeah,
So the hubs didn't have legends or dates. Those were
correct,
written by hand.
correct.
So how did you decide that you were looking at hubs and not just a device punch of the head?
It's just a question of definition. Yeah, come on. Now you all know how to get into my computer. It's a large device, okay?
Yeah.
You could call it a device punch if you want. I prefer to call it a hub, as different from the letters of liberty or the date or the leaves at the bottom. That would be a device punch. The big thing's a hub.
Yeah.
Other people use different terminology. It's just a matter of what you're comfortable with and trying to separate between a big part of the design and a small part of the design.
Were the tentacles part of the hub, or were those?
No. They tried that.
Yeah.
They tried that in 1794 with the half cents. It failed. They tried it with a few large cents in, I think, 1798. It didn't work very well there either, and they didn't try it again until 1840. Okay. Yeah.
So if I recall from your article, when you did the original comparison of a half cent to the dime,
Mm-hmm.
the face was all lined up perfectly, but the hair kind of petered out in some fashion.
Correct.
Can you explain, like, what did they do with the hair? How did
What I believe, and again, I cannot prove this, but what I believe the hub or the device punch, whatever you want to call it, was just the face and the shape of the head, okay, and the neck and and the bust. The hair was individually engraved in each of the dies. Okay, if you look at the 1794 large cents, the reason that people think they were individually engraved is because the hair was retouched in every die. They had to retouch dies. They couldn't. We weren't good enough with the technology yet to have a perfect hubbing job. They had to retouch.
Can you tell from looking at the coin or your overlays or whatever, like where that face ended? In other words, is there a line that you can trace?
No, when I published that, we just sort of faked the backside of the head. Okay, because we don't know. We know the wreath was entirely hubbed. If I pull up the half cent, hang on, let me try to do that. Come on. You don't like me. We have to finish up pretty quick because Chuck is going to be talking.
Take your time, this is good.
Yeah. All right, let me get rid of these. Oh, there it is. Okay. You can see where the back of the head is. Okay? And if you know how anatomy works, you know that the back of the head then curves back and the neck would be about here. Okay? And so that's how we interpreted that. The dime and the other half cent all work fine with that particular shape of a head. But the engraving of the hair is completely different in all three dies. So they didn't use a full hub, it's a partial hub. This stuff is, I just enjoy doing this stuff. I think it's great fun. Yeah,
Very serious question.
okay.
It's really for Susan. Susan, when he was doing all this, how many minutes did you actually get to speak to him in 24 hours?
Oh, no, I was training the dog.
Good. Bill, that's outstanding stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all.
Bill, thank you. It's presentations like this, when somebody applies the skill set that they have of the profession to what we do at EAC, sets EAC apart from a lot of other groups. We appreciate the time and effort that you put into this.
Thank you.